John, how's that baby?
He's doing great. He's
Good.
he's breathing on his own now. Doesn't need a CPAP machine or anything. So
That's good.
he's, they're starting to do regular feedings now. So hopefully he'll get rid of the feeding tube soon.
Mom doing okay?
Yeah, she's doing good. She struggles a little bit with having to leave him down there, but
Oh, that would be hard.
yeah.
All right, we're good to go.
All right, Eddie, thank you. Welcome to the Pierce Township Board of Trustees regular monthly meeting. Let's go ahead and call the meeting to order.
Mr. Kelly,
Here.
Mr. Freeman,
Here.
Mrs. Batchelor.
Here.
All right, and we'll go ahead and get our trustee flag up for the pledge. There we go. All right. Alan, would you like to lead us in the pledge?
Sure, I will give it a shot. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very good, Alan.
I know, and everybody kept up. That was really good.
It was more rhythmic last time. You were like syncopating it or something.
It's a little bit quick the last time.
I know. I worked on it over the last couple of weeks. I practiced in the mirror and stuff. It was good.
How fast you could.
I knew you would. That's why I went 2 weeks in a row. I let you redeem yourself.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I really do. I really do.
All right. So to start out here, we've got approval of minutes.
Yes, I have 4 of them. I request a motion to approve the tax budget hearing minutes on July the 8th, the special meeting minutes from July the 8th, and no, that's the regular meeting minutes from July the 8th, and special meeting minutes from July 22nd, and the public hearing minutes from August the 3rd.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
Ms. Batchelor,
Yes.
and Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thanks, Debbie. And coming up next, we have the Parks Committee for a dog park update. Who wants to start? I would assume Lori, are you on it? Do you want to lead us on that? All right, Lori, you're unmuted now.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Yeah. So they ask you to talk and then we leave you on mute. Sorry.
Don't worry, Lori. He does it to me all the time.
That's on purpose. This is an accident. Lori, we got any slides on this, Eddie? Or
We should have some graphics.
Yep, yeah, we've got a lot of attachments. I'm just sifting through here. Here we go. I could use probably like a 4th or 5th screen here at this point.
so I have some numbers and figures. I got a map. Where would you like to start?
Let's start with the map. Let's start with the Google map.
Cool. All right, is that good?
That is great. You can see by the map that we're looking at an aerial view of the park. You can see where the stage and the restrooms are up near the front in the purple. And the dog park, we are hoping that it will go back here in the back by the new walking trail. So it'll kind of be shoehorned between the walking trail and the access road. So it's
Cool.
got it's a great place because it's got a lot of trees. There's a lot of shade. There is a natural slope to the land, so it tends to stay dry. It was wonderful this spring when we had all the rain, and it still didn't, it wasn't very soggy. So that was really nice. It's a good place to put it.
Cool.
So now we can go back up to the financial portion of it. Thus far, we have, through fundraising efforts, we have collected $15,459. And that is public donations and through events. We have a bid for the fence at $10,000. We have a donation for a waste bag station. Sorry, lost my train of thought. Maybe Doug could step in and add to this.
All right, let's see here. I asked Doug to unmute.
Okay, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. So just looking at the top portion, we've kind of identified the estimated cost, of the dog park, which is the left-hand column numbers, with the fence, and then there's a portion of the fence material that is being donated, and to run the water line from the front of the park to the dog park, we've estimated at $15,000. Waste bag station, purchase of a dual purpose water fountain, $2,950, on down the line for, the items that would comprise the dog park. So based on the quote that we have from Clark Fence, we're showing a total of $40,439. The original estimate that was presented in the master plan that was approved by the trustees in January of 2017 was $42,845. What is proposed here is to split it up into two phases based on funding. So phase one, we're getting pretty much everything that we want in it, except for we want to have two benches to match the park standard, the aluminum ones like by the picnic grove right now, and then agility equipment, for the dogs. As far as the funding sources, the next section down, as Lori mentioned, through fundraising efforts, through events, and just donations from community members, we've got $15,459. KEP Electric is donating the installation of the water line from the in front of the park back to the dog park, which we've estimated at $15,000. The gates, 167 lineal feet of fencing is being donated by Lori Wilson. She has that from a prior business venture that she has been storing and would like to get it out of her garage. That is valued at $1,200. A waste bag station we already have in hand from a Pierce Township resident. That's valued at $280. And then we recently got commitments from Lori Wilson, Randy and Darlene Page, to myself to come up with $3,500, and would bring to match, to basically bring the total funding commitments for phase one to implement it. Then for phase two fundraising, the $5,000, we would propose the next round of Claremont County Park Levy grant applications. Next year, we would apply for that with the fact that it's under $10,000. It would not require a township match. I know there was some discussion in last month's meeting in regard to, annual maintenance costs. These are, down at the bottom. These are just estimates, for the, waste bags to insert into the stanchion that we have, $250. Adding, the area is already mowed as a part of the park. We realize that erecting fence may add a little bit to some cost there from a maintenance standpoint. We just plugged in $1,000 there for additional cost. I'm not sure if it's going to make any difference as far as the mowing goes with the amount of area now that is paved or will be paved through the OKI project. If there is actual, less grass to mow, if that will make any difference in future, park costs for lawn maintenance. And then we just figured, just for someone in the service department to empty the trash can, once weekly and, check the waste bag dispensers to make sure they're full. That's already being done, but just figure add another $2,500 for maintenance costs for service department staff to take care of that. So with that, we do have the $15,459 that has been set aside by Debbie Schwei, earmarked for the dog park. And, we wanted to bring some more hard numbers this month, following up from last month's trustee meeting, to propose moving forward. And we realize that with the other projects, that has created some burden on the service department as far as, looking after those. We could certainly, look at implementing this, in the fall after the other projects are completed. So we're not, providing any undue further burden in regard to these projects that are going on in the park. So with that, we are proposing for the trustees' approval to move forward with phase one of the Pierce Township Dog Park. So Lori or Randy or George, I'm not sure if anyone else has anything to add that I did not cover.
All right, anybody who has anything to add? We should take this opportunity. I think we kind of missed that in the beginning. We typically go over the procedure for adding comment or having comment at the meetings. Eddie, you want to go over that real quick?
So if you are speaking on the computer, you'll raise your hand.
Eddie, you are coming in with a weird voice.
I like ET.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, but it's a really funky sound. I think we've had this happen before. Why don't you check on that? I'll go over this. Typically, if you guys want to have comment, there's a participants button down at the bottom on the bar at the bottom of the screen. If you're on a computer, you can use that method to click the raise hand button on your screen. Or if you're on a phone, I believe it's *9. Hit *9 and that'll raise your hand. We'll see your hand. And we'll unraise it and ask to unmute you, and you can participate here in the meeting. So that being said, anybody else have any comments, raised hands for the dog park stuff? George or anybody? All right. Oh, there's George.
George.
Let's see here. Okay. George, I just asked to unmute you.
Okay. I was just wondering, John, do we still have one of the garbage cans? Didn't we buy an extra one that we never put out? It was being held in reserve. And is there plans for that one?
Yes, we still have one in the garage. And I think we were planning on putting it over by where the restroom area was.
Okay,
I think that's where that one was kind of dedicated to, but
well, I agree, we need one over there. So I was just wondering whether we had an extra or not. Doesn't sound like we do, so.
yeah, I think we just held that one back because it would be in the way over there
Okay,
while they were working.
okay, that's fine.
All right. While we got you, John, do you have any other comments? I mean, in regards to the annual maintenance costs that they're projecting or anything like that?
No, I mean, I don't think it will, I don't think it'll add any cost to the mowing or anything like that. But I just, other than, I mean, I'm sure there'll be, another garbage can to empty, which, yeah, we're already over there doing that, but it's now, just have to drive to that one and take care of that one also. So.
Cool. Anybody else comment, discussion?
I'm looking at the numbers. And I mean, right now, it looks like, you've got pretty much everything squared away. You're looking at a $5,000 grant for phase 2 that you're going to ask for. But no additional revenue coming from the township, correct?
Correct.
So it's really comes down to, if we approve the phase 1, it's a question of timing. How we're doing on the construction that's going on in the park right now, and when that'll be complete. Do we have a sense, John, are we on target for the construction that's going on right now?
Yeah, I think everything is going to be, pretty much on schedule. Like they put one of the roofs on one of the buildings yesterday, on the storage shed, or today they did, got one of the roofs built. I'm sure they're going to build the other one tomorrow. One of the issues that we're kind of running into a little bit right now with the walking paths, is them going to be they've got to pour some concrete in at the entrance of that gravel roadway. And with all the construction equipment coming in and out, and the people working on the learning center, it's gonna kind of interrupt them a little bit, because they're not gonna be able to drive on that concrete for a little bit. So they're gonna end on the new blacktop. So it's there might be a little bit of a delay on when they can work on both of them. So the rain hasn't slowed them down too much that we've been having.
Right.
But I mean, they both seem to think that they're going to be wrapped up pretty much on schedule.
So then, from the timing perspective, Lori or Doug, when would you want to get started on, target date, best possible? When would you want to get started on this? Or am I just overlooking it on this page?
It's not on there. I think, we were thinking just to, not with all that's going on in the park right now, is to, my thought process was anyway, and Lori, if you want to jump into with your opinion, but my thought was, potentially hold off until October.
I agree. Most fence companies right now are backed up 4 to 6 weeks. So even if we scheduled something now, it would be late October.
How's that sound, John?
I think they should be fine. The biggest thing is once they'll be fine as far as as far as the work goes, once Robert's paving is done with the walking trail, they're taking up a lot of room, and they're just all over the place in there. So once they're completed, which I would say probably within the next week, 2 weeks, they'll probably be done if the weather cooperates. So once that's done, that's the learning center isn't really going to hinder them any. So it's far enough away and they're right there. So.
All right. Anybody else got anything?
Yeah, can I ask a question? What is the 15,459 going to be for? Is that going to be used for the fencing? Just to kind of give me an idea what I would need to look for when those invoices come in. So is that what, like the 15,459 will be used to purchase the fencing from, like, say, the Clark fence?
Yeah, we could break that down for you a little bit more, Debbie, to kind of tell you, what, and with the $3,500 commitment from, myself, Lori, and the pages, that would be added to that.
Okay.
And so what we can do is break down, what items that, would cover. And some of these are estimates as well.
Right.
So we already know that the 15,000, even, the estimate for the water line, that's donated. Waste bag stations donated. So things like, yes, for Clark fence, that fencing, some additional fencing for the small dog section, which is down at the bottom of the list. Just some of those ancillary things, but we can kind of break that down further for you as we move forward.
Okay, because I'll just need to know what you want me to pay and not pay.
Sure, no problem.
Okay, thanks, Doug.
I see you insist on using an actual hand raise versus virtual.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. I wanted to ask if there's going to be any attempt to write any rules or regulations by the committee. And if so, I'll be glad to look them over and then ask the trustees to bless them, since it will be a township park. And I think the committee's probably in a good position to be able to write the rules and regulations so that the public can follow those rules.
There are a set of rules and regulations already written up, and
Good.
they're in the master plan, but I can get you an email for those as well.
Great.
My favorite rule was rule number 12, no tigers. I thought that was cool. But I don't know where I can take my tiger now. Sorry, guys.
Don't know.
My cat.
Loretta
Yeah,
here, if I can
that part.
unmute myself.
Oh no, Loretta's going to tell us where to take my tiger.
Tiger, yeah.
Greta, have at it. What's up?
All I know about tigers is Tiger King, so.
Oops.
That was, all right.
Tom just reminded me, so if we have volunteers installing a lot of things at the park, we're gonna have to certainly check on our liability insurance and see what kind of releases they're going to require. The Parks Committee knows that I'm big on waivers, so, we'll have to certainly have that conversation. And the only other comment I have that I when I was looking at this more later, only because I use a dog park in Miami Township all the time, is the placement of the water fountain. I think I've seen them either all the way inside where all the dogs and the people are, so that dogs can use it while they're running around inside the big fence, or I've seen it totally outside, so that there are some people who walk their dogs but don't necessarily want to go inside the park. And, that might also be more accessible if it were outside the fence entirely. So that's just two different thoughts, but having it in that area that's the transfer area when you first bring your dog into the park to get in the first set of gates looks a little awkward to me.
Okay.
Did you guys have Lori, do any of you guys want to add any information? Do you have a reason for putting it there, or what was your thought process?
Because due to sloppy dogs drinking, it would be nice to have the area around the fountain hardscaped, and putting it in that double gated area would make it a much smaller area and more cost effective to hardscape that little spot. But we're open to moving it. That's fine.
Well, I mean, that does make sense too, what you're saying. I know you guys have put a lot of thought into it, so I don't, maybe that's something you guys can look into a little further or whatever.
We can do that.
All right, anything else on the dog park? All right. All right, next on the agenda, we're gonna go to old business. Village of Amelia updates. Loretta, you wanna start with this?
Yes. I've written most everything, so I can just read through it, and then Eddie has some items to add. I just wanted-
Loretta, hold on 1 second. Sorry, I missed George. Maybe I missed George's hand. Sorry. George, did you have something to add?
Well, I was just wondering, do we need a motion and approval of the trustees to move forward with this, or before we begin to, engage a contractor and get on their schedule or anything? That's why I'm just checking where we are in the process on this.
What contractor do we have to engage? The fence guy? Is there anybody else?
I think the fence guy is the only one I'm aware of.
Well, I guess we certainly could do that.
Any contract over $2,500 will still need trustee approval. And
Right.
then John will need to prepare the purchase orders as necessary for Debbie. That way we'll know what vendors are being paid out of that money.
Okay. So is that the only, we can wait then until we are ready to move that purchase order? Is that?
I think we do need some affirmation from the trustees to move forward in terms of planning to enter agreements in order to proceed with the park.
Okay.
So basically the motion would actually be to go out for bid, correct?
Yes.
Well, I think we can do that. Lori, too, before I forget, I know you said you were having a hard time getting bids on that. I asked around. The only other company I had, and I don't know if you've already called them, but the other name I got was Mills Fencing.
Loretta, is that not who parents are using?
Yes, I think it is. And we had 3 different companies that we've been talking to related to that.
Did
So
you
I
try
can hear who they were.
Hatton Fence? They're located right in Amelia.
Hatton Fence.
Yeah.
I
Where
didn't
did
even think about them. I will contact Hatton and Mills. So far, Clark's has been the best quote. But we also,
EME,
I'm sorry.
EME, I think, is the 3rd one that I had conversations with about the other fence problem.
Right, and I think they came in one of the highest.
What style of fencing are you looking at?
A 5-foot tall galvanized chain link,
So it's just a galvanized metal?
Yep. But it's 9 gauge. It's not the standard residential 11 gauge. So it's a 8 gauge fence.
Yeah, I didn't know if you were going with the black, like what's along the cemetery fence there that we just had put up. Because as it gets older, you don't notice the rust and that kind of thing because it kind of hides it a little bit better.
I will see what I can do.
It's got like a rubberized coating on it.
But there's but we'll have to go through an official process to bid, correct, Loretta? We can't just call around and get bid.
Well, Tom
We have
can
to actually
clarify
post this.
this. I mean, we need to make sure that there's a scope of work. So if we were just looking at the fence component, that we do a scope of work that has exactly the same measurement, the same means of installation and such, so that it's shared exactly the same information with each person you request a proposal from.
Right.
If it's under the competitive bidding limits, then I think it's just a matter of, format asking for at least 3 proposals that the trustees can consider before they approve a purchase through one vendor, unless Tom has any other.
Yes. Yes.
So do we need a motion then to go ahead and draw up some consistent specs that we want to put out to bid for this?
I
think
think
that's-
one of, I would recommend that we make a motion directing the, I guess, the administrator.
Yeah.
Directing Loretta in this case, to prepare bid specifications for the dog park.
Okay.
Just to clarify, from, as I see this proposed, it's going to have several different individuals are going to be building different components. So it's not a matter of like hiring a general who's going to hire subs.
Mhm.
It's going to be a fence component. And then there's the donated water line installation, which will also need county permit and inspection processes. So there's pieces
But
that are
that-
really going to
but
be
that's a-
kind of the Parks and John are going to be the general contractor.
Right, right. But in the case of the water line, that's a donation. So that's outside of the competitive bid process, correct?
Yes, but it's a component that has to be worked into,
Right.
all the pieces that have to be put together into one. So for instance, the fence, I'm just imagining I'll work with Lori. I mean, she has the location, she has the linear feet of fence and how many gates and such. And I presume that, and the installation of the area it's going in, that's all that we need. And then we just nail down that fence proposal, which is
Because the fence
major-
proposal is going to be, it's going to be the biggest pain in the butt because we have to post it for what, 30 days and.
No,
no, not for just requesting proposals.
Okay, well then what's the time frame then?
Well, it's pretty quick as long as we have contractors, and usually we've been doing everything via email these days. So
Okay.
I can
well,
just
good.
send it to several and give them a deadline, and we look at the ones that come back before the
Perfect.
deadline.
Okay,
Well,
so
that's
do I
perfect.
have a motion to authorize the administrator to verify specifications and get bids for fencing for the dog park?
So moved.
Second,
Debbie?
Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
Mrs. Batchelor,
yes.
and Mr. Kelly.
Yes. You got the verbiage on that, Debbie?
I got directing the administrator to prepare bid specifications for the dog park for fencing.
All right, good deal. Doug, I know you had your hand up just a second ago. Did you have a comment?
Yeah, I was just going to say that, yeah, between Lori and other park committee members, we can help Loretta with the specifications for it.
Cool, good deal. All right, and then Loretta, of course, all those other components you'll be working through, I guess, as well, right? We don't necessarily need a motion for that, though.
Right. Not every component will require a separate action as long as it's under the $2,500.
Cool, all
Then
right.
will the fountain need a motion on its own then?
I think that could probably be worked out in the specs between everybody, I guess. I don't really have a real strong opinion either way. I mean, I get what both of you guys are saying, but I can't, what you're saying makes sense too, Lori. So I'm 6 to 1, half a dozen the other, personally.
If it's a separate vendor that's going to provide that fountain, and
It is, it's David Williams.
installs it, or,
It's David Williams.
well, so you're saying that's the only option and that's the only price? We're not able to get more than one proposal?
I could not find any other proposals, no.
That's the sort of thing where, again, if it's over 2,500, we usually try to bring in more than one proposal, but if we can document that there are no other alternatives, then.
The water fountain was $550.
Oh,
No,
I thought I was looking at
29.
$2,950.
Yeah. Dual
If-
purpose water is $29.50.
Oh, the labor is $550.
Installation looks like, Nick, is $550.
I gotcha. So we're looking at a total of 30, for whatever on that,
Does the company we buy it from install it?
3,500.
I believe KEP Electric will be installing it. Am I right, Lori?
Oh, it's been so long since I've looked at that. I need to take another look at it one more time, but I believe KEP will install it.
which will actually be Midwestern Plumbing. They were out the other day. They were taking measurements and doing different things. I guess they work together a lot, and Midwestern Plumbing was the one taking all the measurements.
All right, well, what do you want to do? You want to try to get another bid on, or should we try to, or how hard have you tried? Is it there one game in town for those things or what?
Pretty much.
All right,
Well, let's try to get some bids on that, so at least we can document where we went and who you talked to.
Okay.
I mean, it's just, that way we can just make sure we've got a good paper trail that we made a good faith effort to do it.
I think those are the biggest ticket items, so we can work out the rest in the same fashion.
Do we need any more? Do we need another motion to do that, Loretta, or we're good to go?
No, until we have vendors, I'll have to bring the vendors forward to you when we
Okay.
have it. We're just nailing down the vendors first.
Okay.
all right, guys, sounds great.
Mr. Dressy has his hand raised, by the way.
Mr. Dress.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on the water fountain. What was budgeted is what we have found online as far as different types of units and what they cost. So yeah, there's not a firm bid from on that, so we can certainly get that.
No, I do have a firm bid from David Williams.
Oh, you do?
I do.
Oh, okay.
All right, well, we authorized the fence thing bidding and we'll wait for some more info on that. All right, anything else? All right. Now, Loretta, we are on to Village of Amelia updates. Sorry.
Okay, we're just talking about how I hardly talk anymore, and boy, I'm gonna load you up tonight.
I was being sarcastic.
So, just to report, the titles have all been received for the vehicles. I believe that Debbie said that she and the fiscal officer for Batavia Township spent 2 hours at the BMV, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Sounds
2 long hours. But we got her
That's
done.
always a fun time.
But we got her done.
So we have the items that are transferred directly to Pierce or Batavia Townships dealt with at this point, and we're working on the advertisement for the items that will be offered on gov.deals for the internet auction. So that will take care of the rest of the unnecessary vehicles and some of the major equipment like mowers and such. So that will be advertised in a legal advertisement in the paper once it's drafted, and it will run for at least 10 or 15 days. We're just checking the criteria for that. So that will be moving forward. The next meeting with the townships and the state auditors representatives is September the 14th. I don't know if Mr. Keating has any other updates related to the legal matters that are still outstanding.
Yes, I do. Should I go now?
Well, I'm at it, Tom.
All right, 5 things have happened recently. 5 things. First of all, the Renee, through her attorney, has filed a motion to dismiss the declaratory judgment that the village filed. And the primary reason that she filed that was she claims that the village filed that declaratory judgment without proper authorization. So that was filed. Number 2, Amelia responded to that motion by filing a motion to strike Renee's motion. And the reason they said was that the motion was not based on any law or procedure. So that was number 2. Number 3, Amelia filed its motion for summary judgment. And summary judgment means they want the judge to rule on their declaratory judgment and make a decision based on the written documents that are before the judge. The motion relied pretty heavily on the state auditor's previous letter that they sent to many of the citizens of Amelia and to Pierce. Also in that motion was Amelia's claim that their income tax law is proper and valid and operates legally. So that was the next thing that happened. Then we were served with a public records request by Renee through her attorney, demanding to see all emails that had the name Todd Hart in them. And we complied with that just recently, just a few days ago. And then today, this afternoon, we heard that the state attorney general is not going to give an opinion that we've asked for concerning our ability to initiate a TIF. They promised us that they would do a quick opinion. And when I talked to the lawyer at the Attorney General's office, I explained that the lawsuit, the declaratory judgment, had nothing to do with this TIF issue. But the Attorney General's letter that I just saw this afternoon said that because there's a declaratory judgment pending, and that declaratory judgment affects the rights of us as a township to do things dealing with the land, then that means that that court, the Claremont County Court, has jurisdiction of that case, and the state attorney general doesn't want to meddle in the affairs of the court system. So they are, as of now, declining to give us any opinion at all about the TIF. So that was quite a shocker to come this afternoon. And that's the 5 things that have happened.
All right, Tom. Well, that's a lot to take in.
Yes.
Comments or discussion, Alan or Bonnie?
Well, I do have one comment. It's this. If the Attorney General doesn't want to weigh in on the issue of whether we have a right to initiate a TIF, then my feeling is we should initiate a TIF if we want to, because that's our reading of the law. And until somebody tells us we're wrong, then we're right. And that's the way I feel about it. So I think we do have a right to initiate a TIF. I've always thought that. And the Attorney General, I have no idea why they wouldn't give an opinion on that. It makes really no sense.
Then full speed ahead with the TIF.
That's what I say.
So I would say so.
Yeah. I think bond counsel's opinion is a little bit more weighted than mine, but I'll discuss it with her. Hopefully she'll agree.
Out of curiosity, what would you say on the other end of the coin would be our liability in regards to what could we possibly have to lose down the road by going ahead and moving on a TIF?
A TIF means that the increase in value of real estate is exempt from taxes. So if the people are paying less tax, but paying us this increment instead of the tax, the money is used to pay for infrastructure. So I can't see any downside risk in this in a TIF process. I just can't see it.
The only thing that could happen, Nick, is that the state turns us down. But at the end of the day, it's kind of like showing up to class with your homework 2 days early. So they'll tell us to go home and hang on to it and turn it in when you're allowed to.
I appreciate the analogy, but I don't know what that feels like. You're gonna have.
Neither do I, but I've heard that it's really cool.
Yeah.
I would agree then. I don't see any downside.
I can tell you we're doing our homework.
Yeah.
Loretta, you have experience with getting that homework done early.
Yeah, and Brenda is too.
Yeah.
Glad we've got you guys.
Okay.
All right.
In this case, the state ate your homework, right, Loretta?
Yeah.
They're trying.
Yeah.
They're trying.
Mhm.
I'm gonna appeal it.
All
All right, I
right.
think we
So-
should move forward with that then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we are. I think that you already directed us to do that, so we have
Yeah.
started the paperwork. I think maybe go ahead and have Eddie give us an update on how many surveys have been returned so far or responded
yeah.
to.
Eddie, I hope you still don't sound like a robot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Am I robotic or am I good?
You're good.
You're good.
Okay, great. So actually this morning we had about 165 surveys done. We sent out a little blast on Facebook, and now we're up to, last I checked, about 185 or so.
Oh, good.
So we're close to the 200 mark, which I think is pretty good given, we still have a few days left of surveys trickling in. It ends, we closed the window on the 17th, but of course we can extend it and everything to that effect. So that's all I've got on that.
That's great. It sounds encouraging.
Yeah.
Unless he has anything else to add, or Chief Bachman on the green at Royal Oak, we had that Zoom meeting on June the 23rd with a plan for the next update in September.
Well, let me pause real quick, Loretta. Be sure anybody *9 raise your hand on a phone or use the participants panel. Anybody else have any comments on the last topic? Renee, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Good.
I know you're probably not real happy with the turn of events that have happened the past couple weeks. We're still working through it. I wanted to raise one point that Alan spoke on, I believe the last meeting, and that was the attempt to try to remove Todd. I didn't know if you guys were going any further on that, or we're going to mention any of that tonight, because he did get paid again for the month of July, another $2,240. So I didn't know, what was going on there with you guys. I do keep up kind of with my attorney, but what's happening with you guys. But I didn't know if that was an option. Maybe Tom can answer a little more. I'm not sure.
I don't have anything to add. I don't think that right now Pierce is doing anything in that case that which your attorney Renee is pushing the case to have him removed.
Right.
I don't think that Pierce right now is not doing anything actively in the case right now. Right.
No, and I had made mentioned to Alan too that I'm going to stress that we have requested time cards or anything that proves what he was doing other than driving the vehicles, I guess, over to you guys is about the only thing we've seen happen on how he's getting this money. And my suggestion was, if we're paying him with our tax dollars, why can't we make him come to your meetings or Batavia's meetings to give us an update on Amelia? I mean, and tell us what he's done to earn this money. I mean, I don't know any other way to try to get to see what he's doing. Other than
I'm sorry, Renee, go ahead.
And spending time between him and his attorney, it's so frustrating. And I know it's frustrating for you guys. And, I think the only question, I was kind of shocked because it seems like the state has had an opinion on everything else, that they wouldn't give you an opinion on the TIF. And, my question is too, have you guys heard anything about the big purple dragon that's sitting over there not being constructed anymore, on what's happening with the Premier project?
It's ground to a halt until the courts can figure out who gets what, and they're doing the due diligence right now on all the debt. And then there's always the environmental special improvement district that's now a curveball that's been thrown into the entire process, trying to figure out how that plays into everything. So right now, a company named Prodigy is serving as the court-ordered receiver in the property. And they're doing their due diligence, working with the bank, trying to figure out, what the next steps will be. And I talked to Prodigy, I think twice in the last 2 weeks. And so I know they're digging, trying to find out all the financial information. My suspicion is they'll put it back out on the market, try to see if another company very similar to Premier will buy it up. But yeah, right now they're going through their due diligence and their legal issues associated with that piece of property as well. So we're hoping that that'll be a quick resolution, but nothing seems to be quick.
Well,
Hadn't we made a request of at some point recently to obtain a list of the duties in which Todd Hart was performing? I thought we made that at some point recently.
Did it go in front of did someone bring it up at the committee meeting the last time they had one?
I don't remember. I think
believe that Tom did contact the attorney just to verify what the charter said about the position, I believe, and what ordinance had appointed him to the position in the first place
there
of
is
administrator.
none. Yeah, there is none. That's the part of the problem. There was no ordinance appointing him as the manager. That doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And Alan, real quick before I forget, because I'm old, but you were talking about the money, I believe, that was coming from Amelia, which was then circulated to Premier, was it was $245,000. Is that the money you're talking about for the upgrades, or the I forget what you called it?
Well, no, I think you're thinking about the TIF.
No, there wasn't a TIF. There, Amelia got a loan, and then when they got the money, then they circulated, or then they paid it to Premier.
The ESID assessment, I think, is what you're talking about.
There you go. Yes. Thanks,
Well,
Laura.
the ESID is much worse than that. I'm hopeful that it's only $245,000. The ESID has provided a significantly larger sum of money, or made it available to Premier. We're trying to find out how much Premier used of the nearly $6.5 million that line of credit that was given to them.
Right, but maybe, and Tim may know more, but those payments, as far as I know, were still being paid to Premier up to at least a month and a half ago.
Well, Premier, the way the deal worked in the ESID is that Premier, through their property taxes, they were paying $200 and some thousand a year. They're supposed to make 2 payments, one in February, one in July. They made a February payment, but I do not think they made a July payment, because I think by then they were already locked up. I mean, their resources were locked up. So I think they've only made 1 payment thus far, 1 or 2 payments against their contract. Now, that wasn't money that came from the treasury from Amelia. That's money that was supposed to come from, it's basically an agreement on their property taxes. So they were supposed to pay an assessment above their property taxes. But the beauty of it was they would get in return about a $6.5 million line of credit. And so we just don't know how much they've used of that 6.5 million line of credit. That's one of the reasons why I've been talking to Prodigy, because Prodigy has a court order to find out. So, so we're kind of stepping in behind the receiver's legal authority so that we can get an assessment of how much Premier used of the line of credit. But
So-
that money, that the 200 and some $1,000 was supposed to be a payment from Premier to this ESID to make payments against this loan.
Right, and I think there's another one, Alan, but
There could be, but I was focused on this one. But if you guys have another one, let me know.
I think there is, and hopefully, Tim's on here. Hopefully he's more of the financial guy. But the other thing is, this going to affect you guys money wise? I mean, they're putting up houses that are going to be, originally they were planned to be anywhere from $250,000 to $300,000 homes that are going to be built, that are looking at a big purple, we call it the big purple dinosaur here in Amelia, because,
Barney.
Say that again. What was that?
I
Barney.
said it's Barney.
Yeah, well, I call it something else, but I can't tell you what I call it. How is that going? That's going to affect you and us once this is finally over, if it ever is, on the market of those houses.
It'll have an impact on both ends.
Correct.
The ESID, depending upon how much has been utilized out of the $6 million, $6.5 million, that'll serve almost like it's a lien on a house, right? So if somebody else wants to come in and buy that property to build on it, we're gonna have this issue of, will they want to pay off this lien an additional amount of money? So that could slow down the sale of the purple dinosaur, which could be a real serious problem. But you're right. I mean, people next door, depending upon how quickly one can be sold and construction can begin again, you're right. It does have a domino effect on both of those parcels. And so we are watching that very carefully. But then also remember that the more dirt moves around on a site, the more value shifts. So a TIF becomes less valuable over time. So because when they come in and do the appraisals and all that fun stuff, the value is no longer a cornfield. It's now 16 houses, and so you lose some value the longer this takes on the state level too. From that, not getting the opinion from the Attorney General's office was not a good thing today, and so all of those things are kind of frustrating potential economic development in that area, but not insurmountable either.
A $1.9 million roundabout to nowhere.
You got that right.
So, other things, Loretta, I guess, because I can't even go there because it'll just infuriate me. The other question I had is, why is the state still having a meeting when this hasn't been decided yet? Is this something that Todd is going to go to as well?
Well, I can tell you that at one level, when we leave the meetings with the state, we don't want to leave without another meeting scheduled. So
Okay.
that at least we force a deadline and have another opportunity to gather more information through conversation and try to push people to continue to make progress.
My fear is, Renee, that if we don't keep getting together, then they'll forget about us.
Oh, that's not going to happen, I can assure you.
Well, stranger things have happened.
Yeah. We're working on them not forgetting ever who we are.
That's right. But there still are some items that we'd like to resolve, that can try to help us move forward.
Well, I hope it works out. I was talking yesterday, and I don't know why, everybody wanted to get this done early, and now all of a sudden, one side doesn't want to play with the other side, so they're taking their balls and going home. But the other thing was, that, completely off track, but going back to your dog park, that, you know, the dog park in Amelia, the one up at Spencer Shank Park, Tom, you were talking about rules, and I don't know if you all thought about putting the same kind of rules on both places, just so it's conducive, since both will sit in piers. I've not been up there to tell you what the rules are, but if you were going to make a sign, I would make 2 of them to put them at both places, just to help y'all out. And we got a couple garbage cans. Yeah, and we have a couple garbage cans y'all can have. They say Amelia on them, and they were $2,800 at the bargain price of nothing.
I saw those the other day. I took a bunch of kids up there and they were playing in the park. And they were like, why do they still have the garbage cans that say Amelia?
There you go. Just chop them off at the top.
No, I just told them, I said, because we're cheap. We're going to keep them that way.
And I believe, I don't know if anybody knows, but somebody had donated to Amelia a ballpark fence that went around completely a baseball field. I don't know where that fencing went. Somebody might want to ask Todd, but it was a big fence that might be able to be used to help you save some money for the dog park too. But I don't know where it went. So that's all I got. I apologize again for this taking so long.
That's all right. Thanks, Renee. Thanks for the updates. Good idea on the dog park rules for both. That's a good idea.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else? Comments, raised hands? Star 9 on your phone, participant panel. All right, I'm not seeing anybody. The next meeting with the state auditor is scheduled for September 14th. Okay, I don't think we probably have anything but the on the green. Does anybody have anything to add with that? We have to schedule another meeting for that. In September is what we agreed upon. I believe the end of September, I think, is what we talked to Mr. Miller Novak about at the last meeting we had with them. Does anybody have anything to add to on the green?
You covered it. That's all I would have to say. So we'll be reaching out to everyone to find a time in September that works.
Cool. Thanks, Eddie. All right. I think we touched on a little bit. We kind of tied in with the dog park topic earlier, but next on the agenda is Learning Center and Pierce Park Path Center construction. Completion anticipated in November. Anybody have anything to add on that?
I think John gave a pretty good overview. I'm just noting, the financial side of it. So according to the pay request that will be processed, it's about 35% complete on the Learning Center. And I was able to request in advance of this capital grant funds. So I'm always nervous until I get the paperwork done the first time. And they said it was acceptable what I sent. I'm not quite sure when we'll get the money. Debbie needs to let me know if it comes in, and then within 45 days of requesting in advance, we have to submit all the rest of the documentation of the actual payment that's to be made. And then just to remind everyone that the Claremont County Engineer's Office is the one who's overseeing the construction of the Park Path project. So we have 2 different managers of projects, and we have 2 different contractors out there working in the park. The
All right.
easy one was the tennis and basketball court. So I don't know if there were any other questions about the other park projects.
All right, thanks, Loretta. We have the tennis and basketball courts that are completed. I met with John while that was getting done. It looked like they were doing a great job. John, you have anything to add on that?
No, they look really nice. I've gotten a couple compliments from people. So I think they did a great job.
Seemed like a great product. That should last a while, huh?
Well, turns out that the tennis court material was only designed to last for like 3 years. The tennis and basketball, that material, but That's if you're playing in Wimbledon or something. So we got 20 something years out of the last set, so we'll be all right.
The 20 years, great. Sounds good.
Nick?
Yeah.
I wanted to let you know that we did get the reimbursement from the county on that tennis courts, $13,000 we got back in.
Cool. That's great. All right, good deal. 125 corridor study. Talked a little bit about, I think the survey kind of was somewhat part of that. We have anything else going on there, Eddie?
Yeah, I spoke to Jay Stewart. He's working with climbers right now to wrap up addressing all of our comments. Right now, they're putting the finishing touches on some maps, and then they're also adding some graphs. Jay anticipates that work should be done by the end of the week, and then we'll have a document to share and distribute.
Great. Any other 125 corridor study info, news, updates, questions, comments? All right, we are finally in a new business. Debbie.
I request a motion for approval of payment of the payroll for the month of July in the amount of $401,940.46.
So moved.
Seconded.
Mrs. Batchelor?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
I request a motion for approval of payment of the bills for the month of July in the amount of $273,827.91.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
Mrs. Batchelor?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
I do have one more motion I need to make, which is on the agenda. I got a call from the county, from Missy Latham over there. And as we approved our budget back in July, I included what we were receiving from Amelia for the 21 budget. I was not supposed to do that. So I request a motion to submit an amended budget to her, removing what we will be receiving from Amelia once that's all done.
Debbie, come on. Villages dissolve every day. You should know this stuff.
I know. So I told Missy, I said, I used the numbers that Chris Melman had sent me. Apparently I'm not the only one. So that's things happen.
Yep. All right. Thanks for letting us know.
So I just need approval so I can send that along when I send over the corrected budget.
So we just have to make a motion right now to approve that?
Yes.
Okay, so moved.
Thank you, Alan.
Second.
Thanks, Bonnie. So that'll be I'll get copies out to you on the amended budget. It's just removing those numbers. So,
Okay.
Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
Batchelor,
Yes.
and Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
And why I did that is because it was the 21 budget and I figured we'd be done with this stuff going on, but
One could hope.
yeah. Thank you.
All right, Debbie, thanks. Chief Wright.
That's
Oh,
all.
Debbie. You got another one you're tuck in there?
I'm done.
All right. Chief Wright.
All right, I request a motion to approve the appointment of Dylan J. Rains as a part-time firefighter paramedic at the established rate pending successful completion of all associated pre-employment requirements and a one-year probationary period, noting that the cost of all associated pre-employment requirements is that of the township.
So moved.
Seconded.
Batchelor,
Yes.
Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
and Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
Thank you. I request a motion to approve the appointment of Tyler K. Schmidt as a part-time firefighter EMT at the established rate pending successful completion of all associated pre-employment requirements and a one-year probationary period, noting that the cost of all associated pre-employment requirements is that of the township.
So moved.
Seconded.
Mrs. Batchelor,
Yes.
Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Craig. Service Director John Kohler. Kohler.
Kohler.
Yep, sorry. Did the camera, forgot to mute. I request a motion to accept the lowest and best bid from Cargill Incorporated for the 2020-2021 winter season to purchase up to 1,000 ton of road salt for a cost of $48,190 at the rate of $48.19 per ton dump delivery, or $56,190 at the rate of $56.19 per ton piler delivery with the option ordered by Pierce Township.
That's actually a pretty good price, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's, I'm not for sure, but I think it's a little bit lower than last year.
That's what I thought when I looked at it.
So,
Is the quantity less? Aren't we on a surplus? We couldn't use that much last year. It snowed like.
well, we didn't buy all that salt last year. We didn't have to purchase all of it. We only had to purchase what we use or what we get from them. So it's basically, you're allowing me, if we have a bad winter, we can use up to 1,000 ton. We're approved for up to 1,000 ton.
Oh, I gotcha.
So, like last winter, we didn't really use anything. So it was, hopefully we have another one just like that.
Yeah, I gotcha. All right, I got a motion.
So moved.
Second,
Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
Ms. Bachelor,
yes.
and Mr. Kelly.
Yes. Loretta.
Yes, I have an unusual request. A motion to authorize an indigent burial in St. Clair Township, Hickory Flat Cemetery at no cost for interment since the deceased has a plot already owned by the family. So normally if there's an indigent burial, we bear the expense of the cremation, and then we're obligated to put a monument and the remains in our cemetery or a designated township cemetery. Not all townships have their own anyway. We'll have excellent documentation on this, but this person's husband had worked for that community and is already buried there, and there's a lot there for her. So that's why I think it's appropriate if you would approve this to be done in this way.
I agree with you, Loretta. I think it's the right thing to do.
Agreed.
With that, I make the motion.
I will second.
Hey, Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
Ms. Bachelor,
Yes.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes. All right, Eddie.
Alrighty, so I'm take 1 second here. I'm going to throw this resolution up on the screen. Okay, so just so you you have a visual of what's being discussed, Planning and Zoning Administrator Eddie McCarthy requests a motion authorizing Resolution 2020-020, a resolution adopting zoning for the former Village of Amelia in Pierce Township.
All right. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I will second.
I just want to remind everybody, we did have a special meeting. What was that now, Eddie? A week or so ago? And we went through this in detail during that meeting.
Yes, we did. And that's on our YouTube channel as well, if anybody's so interested in going back and using it to fall asleep tonight.
Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
Ms. Bachelor,
Yes.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
Can I make one suggestion, please?
Yes.
make sure that Debbie ends up with all of the attachments that are referenced in here. That starts at Exhibit A and ends with Exhibit L. And so that's a lot of attachments, but at least on the official or original resolution, we want to make sure all of the attachments are included, because that's what this does. This incorporates all of those other documents. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Tom. Right before, I don't know, before we move on, there was a message from Ms. Gerber. She mentioned that Mr. Rosser may have had his hand up.
I saw that, Eddie. I was going to circle back.
Okay.
All right. Let's get through our departmental updates and then we'll come back to that. Chief Bachman, do you have anything?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
I don't have anything. I just want to say thank you to Debbie and Adele for sitting down there at the Bureau of Motor Vehicles for 2 hours to get some titles. We do have the 4 police vehicles out back. One of them has already kind of been detailed by our mechanic and it looks nice. So thank you for your time well spent. And that's all. I don't have anything else.
You owe me big time.
Uh-oh.
Oh, man. See, you can't give them credit, Chief. Now they want more. Go on. Chief Wright, you got anything?
Yes, sir. I have a couple of things. An update on the ambulance that was wrecked. I spoke to Horton yesterday, I believe. They anticipate having the repairs made hopefully in the next month or so. They did total the chassis. They're remounting the box onto it. So some of the stuff we did in the beginning, getting a chassis sent, definitely paid off and sped up that process. If we'd been waiting on the chassis, it would have been January before they were able to start on it. The COVID stuff, numbers are, we're still seeing positive cases. Numbers have started to trend down a little bit around the state. We were downgraded from red to orange. There's still a mandatory mask order in place. I know there's a little anticipation with school starting back towards the end of this month. I know New Richmond local schools have done a really good job about posting things on social media and their website for our residents that have kids that attend those schools. West Claremont's been putting things out, and St. B. So all the schools have done a lot of planning to prepare for students coming in. So we'll wait and see. The only other thing I have is I'm pretty proud about this. We were notified this morning for the Assistance to Firefighters grant. We applied for this in 2019 and we were awarded. We're still waiting on the final documents, but it appears that we were awarded $145,000, a little over $145,000 to the fire department to purchase new self-contained breathing apparatus, which is the air packs you wear in the fires. We'll have a local match of $14,500 for that, which is pretty outstanding. Captain Masterson did almost all of the grant that we were awarded, which is fantastic. So I appreciate his hard work, and some other folks helped with it. And then in addition to that, we also were notified that we received an Ohio Division of EMS grant for a little over $3,000. So it's a pretty good day for us.
That's great.
That's great.
Very profitable.
That's all.
Well, thank Lieutenant Masterson. Good deal.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Greg. Service Director Kohler, do you have anything?
I think we pretty much went over it all with the park stuff. And we've just been plugging away at trying to catch up on all our ditching. We did complete all of our stuff that we needed to do before certain roads get paved. So that's all done. We've moved on to trying to get the ditching list from the spring taken care of. So that's about all we got.
All right, good deal. Okay, Eddie, you got any, or Loretta, any planning or zoning or administrative stuff that we didn't already touch on?
I have a couple things, and then Eddie can fill in. I had been contacted by the owner of the Milk property because they were contacted by Duke Energy related to the siting of this pipeline project. And while we're supportive of the gas pipeline perhaps being necessary for future development and expansion, we're in just our representatives that had participated in preliminary conversations had told Duke that we were not supportive of that bisecting that property that may be developed in the future. And the property owner is asking us to support his wishes and not being impacted by that either. So I didn't know if you wanted to authorize me to send communication directly to Duke Energy to let them know, to reiterate that we would not want to see the gas pipeline bisect that property in any way.
I told
think that's-
Loretta I thought that we should do it because that's a terrific future development up there, and we don't want a pipeline going right down through the middle of it.
I totally agree.
Loretta, I was in on that meeting when we had with them, and it sounded like that was a second or maybe even third option. It was kind of portrayed in a way that, you know, well, this probably isn't going to happen, or it has a very remote chance of happening. Now it seems like, you know, I don't know, it seems like we were kind of placated to a little bit. I'm wholeheartedly in agreement with expressing our opposition to that.
Mm-hmm. Now, I think their scouts are out and they're just looking at all their possibilities, but I think we could go on the record and make sure that it's not forgotten. Then the other item that I had is that I would like to add, we already have a public hearing on August the 26th at 6:30, and that's for the Prestwick TIF number 2. And that's already been noticed. It's a special public hearing. It can't have any other agenda items on it, but I'd like to do another Zoom meeting immediately following that where we can talk about some other possibilities and prioritizing some projects. There's an opportunity to use some revenue under a new Senate Bill 4, as well as review our work plan and be able to have some future planning discussion through the remainder of this year. So if you're agreeable, I'd like to plan to continue that agenda following that public hearing.
So we want to continue it on that same day.
Yes, I'm just suggesting if we already have your attention, we just tag it on. I don't believe that the public hearing portion will last very long. We also need to talk about the Amelia land sales in the future. Batavia Township had their preliminary discussion about how to pursue that. We'll all have to be in agreement on that. And then also we need to consider a resolution for OPWC funds again for the Cole Road landslide project. So those are at least a few items that we really need some discussion for.
Sounds good to me.
Fine with it.
Thank you. And then just a reminder, the final step before we can actually finish the paperwork for this Prestwick TIF number 2 is then a passage of a resolution dependent upon the results of our hearing on the 26th, and that will be done on September the 30th. And these are all fixed timelines that have to be met. And when we look, for instance, at a commercial TIF, you'll find the process is a little different. There's no public hearing required for that, but there's a certain number of days that have to transpire before it can be put into place. So each one of these has to be dealt with differently. And when we look at that property that was the former Premier TIF, those parcels have to be treated differently than the parcels that are going to be residential. So if anyone's wondering why we don't put that all in one TIF, it's different legislation. There's reasons why it has to be handled separately. That's all I have. I don't know if Eddie has anything else to share.
Eddie, you got anything?
Nope, we pretty much covered everything I had. I've got we have two final items here. But other than that, in the clear.
All right, thanks, Eddie. Consider it candidates for appointment of alternate to the zoning commission. We talked a little bit about this at last meeting. Have you guys had time to review Alan, Bonnie?
I have, and on the case of the alternate to the zoning commission, I liked all of them. Can we just have them like rotate, a couple months for each one? Because I think they're all good candidates.
And you hate to turn anyone away that's willing to donate any of their time.
No, and they're all, for different reasons, each one is very qualified for the spot.
I agree with both of you guys. I am leaning a little bit toward Beverly Gangwer personally. I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce the last name correctly. She's over in the village. Sounds like she has a little bit of experience. She's with on a board for HOA currently and stuff like that. She's been in that area for a while. I thought it'd be nice to get a little representation from that area. That was kind of my take on it.
Right. And we had the one other person up in that area too. Debbie, what was his name?
Jeff Higgins.
Jeff Higgins.
Yes, Jeff was on Jenny Lynn.
Right.
Again,
And I agree, Nick, it would be nice to have someone from that area.
Yeah, and that was just my initial thought, but I agree. They're all great candidates.
Are you making an official, you can't. Okay, I was comfortable with Gongwer as well. I'll make a motion that we appoint her to the zoning commission as the alternate.
I will second, but can we keep these applications, Eddie, for the future?
Yeah, no problem at all. I'll keep them.
All right, roll call.
Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
Ms. Batchelor,
Yes.
and Mr. Kelly.
Yes. All right, more candidates. Candidates for the Parks Committee. Talked about this last time a little bit. Did we have anybody else come in? I think the goal last time was to make sure it was opened up. It was visible that that position was available and that we made sure everybody that was involved with the parks was aware of the position. Have we done that, or do we feel that we've done that?
Yeah, it was re-advertised. We did not get another application.
Then my recommendation is that I would make a motion that we appoint Ann Campbell to that slot.
Do I have a second?
Yeah, she's been involved, correct, Alan?
She's on the line right now. Let's ask her.
Ann.
Yes. Yeah, I've been attending the meetings since June. Was the first Zoom meeting that I attended.
Great.
Learning the projects and what's been going on with parks.
Good deal. So, Ann, what's your background again? Just for everybody on that.
I've been a nurse for 12 years at Cincinnati Children's. So safety and kids are important to me. And then I also have a 5-year-old. So we do spend a lot of time outside and in the parks and going on trails. And so it's just something that really interests me.
Well, we appreciate your willingness to volunteer time. It seems like you're eager to get involved.
Yes.
That background fits well with the current circumstance.
Yes.
All right. Do I have an official second? Did we get one on that?
Yes, I did.
Roll call, Debbie.
Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
Ms. Batchelor,
Yes.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes. All right. Thanks, Ann. Welcome to the Park Committee.
Thank you.
Okie doke. Now we'll go ahead and circle back for public comment. Again, use that participant panel at the bottom. Raise your hand. Anybody who's gotten on the call since we last discussed that. *9 on your phone. We'll go ahead and start with Tim. Tim, sorry it took so long.
Oh, that's all right. No problem. Hey, Good evening to everyone. The points I want to bring tonight is it was brought up about doing records requests on Hart's everything he's been doing to earn this $2,448 paycheck per month. I have submitted a records request to Kathy Ryan, and she returned it back stating that there's no such documents. I've asked for any contracts that the village had with Todd. If he was hired on as an employee, there was no documentation. There was no time cards, and there was no forms of him, of his doings, you know, what he participated in, what meetings he attended, or anything whatsoever. There was no details. So that came back clean, that there was nothing that would support anything that he has done. Also, I was also the premier. Now, being that he said technically went through Premier and Amelia, and being that the halt in the financial issues with Premier, the company, does that hold anybody, say like in the Amelia process, liable to this, any of this monies? And I know we were just a pass through as in paying this amount of monies, but since we were named on the documents, do we know if we would be held liable in any way?
I mean, I'll leave that to Tom, but I think that that's a very good question that still needs to be answered. You know, and again, that's why we're trying to get to the bottom of how much of that $6.5 million Premier actually used to this point. We know that they were supposed to be, according to their schedule, they were supposed to have already spent nearly $4.5 million of the $6.5 million. I think the weather slowed them down, so I don't think they spent that much money, but we're still, like I said, we're still waiting to hear from the company that issued the bonds. So we'll have a better sense of that probably in the next couple of weeks. And who's going to be responsible for that? Again, I'll leave that to Tom, but you know, my concern is that they're going to leave that to the next landowner to satisfy that debt, because the assessment is based on the property, so it stays with the property.
Correct.
So the next owner will own that responsibility. So like I said before, it's very, very similar to having a lien on a piece of property. Someone's going to have to relieve that lien in order to move forward.
Sure.
The only thing I want to add is that the way it was set up, the ESID, there would be no personal responsibility of anybody in Amelia, but that's the way it was set up. So as Alan has said, and several of us have said, where'd the money go? And until you know where the money went, you don't really know whether there's any questions that have to be asked or any investigation that has to take place until you see where that money went.
Okay.
In other words, going back to Watergate, follow the money.
Exactly.
So Tom, if the money went somewhere and it's not accounted for, and those what are essentially environmental improvements or environmental additions that advantageous were not made to that property, but the money was taken and the money can't be accounted for, it was spent, or it was, where does that leave the property? How does that?
Well, it would probably be criminal. If somebody misused the funds that were allocated through a government project. I mean, the ESID is a government project. It's a neighborhood project to be used to generate good, efficient, you know, just better efficiency in the quality of the construction. So yeah, if it was misused or abused, that would be a public crime.
At the moment, we have a document that shows roughly what the money is supposed to be used for. So working with Prodigy is going to go back through as part of their due diligence to see if those items were actually installed. And match that against, you know, any of the expenditures that might have come out of the 6.5 million.
Well, okay. And then the other, now we talked about this before, and who can make the decision or help enforce this? That if Todd Hart, as we're claiming he's the manager, drawing a paycheck each month, why can't he do a report at both township meetings each month in support of, you know, what's going on in Amelia? You know, in other words, have him give a report based on what he's accomplished, you know, through that month that deserve, you know, a paycheck. You know, that's the frustrating part is we don't know what's going on. And at a tune of $2,448 payment per month to him, which I think I ran, you know, that's a little over $30,000 a year. If you do it on a year, I mean, that's insanity. I just don't know what and who can help us where he has to attend some of these meetings, whether they're in person or as we're doing it right now by Zoom.
All right. So I think that's that's kind of a twofold deal. Of course, our meetings are always open, so I would be happy to have Mr. Hart in one of our meetings giving us updates. I got no personal issue with that. It really comes down to what is our ability to force his hand or require that he does so, and I'm really going to have to rely on Tom for that.
Right.
And that's what I was going to ask Tom. Tom, if he is an employee getting paid, why does he not have to show us how he's earning that money? What's he doing to earn that money?
Well, I'll step right in front of Tom real quick.
Let Alan step right in front. Go ahead.
And I'll tell you that we did have the ability prior to March to do this. But when the state of Ohio resurrected the village, he now is an employee of the village.
Okay.
And
You're right.
so that's why we don't have necessary, I mean, we can, you know, and we've done this. Believe me, we've done this. Banged our fists on the desk, pulled our shoes off and hit whatever we could hit. And they just look at us like cows watching a passing train. They do not care. And so, yeah, I mean, now I'll let Tom take over, but let's remember that he is unfortunately the employee of the city or the village, not ours.
Yeah, my addition is that everything Alan said is exactly the same thing that I would have said. He's an employee of the village, and the village still exists, and the village pays him based on apparently their charter. That's what they've told us. That's their comment. But we don't have any authority to make him account to us.
Okay. And, you know, and my last point is you have him so-called as a manager, and Todd, he has no term, current term. He has no enforcement. And then we have Kathy Ryan, who is the solicitor, has no contract. So we have two individuals who are consistent of, besides Bill Gilpin, two individuals make a decision. One doesn't have a contract and the other one doesn't have a term. I mean, I find this absolutely it just blows my mind.
Preaching in the choir, Tim. It blows mine too.
Yeah.
Under what authority they operate, or the authority to make any decision at all.
That's correct. And you know, it's like they won. You know, if they have a motion, if Todd makes a motion, she approves it, and vice versa. And they're turning around and with no powers. And but they're empowering themselves based on the 4,000 plus residents who's currently still paying an earnings tax. And her firm ended up with an $8,100 bill submitted from the month of July, and on top of his $2,448. So we're looking over $10,000, close to $11,000 in money spent out, and we have no clue where we're going. How it's being spent is what I'm saying.
No,
Yeah.
I totally agree with you, Tim. And but again, we fall back to the same situation. Prior to March, we had the authority to pull the ripcord on some of this stuff. But
Sure.
Once we hit March, whatever, what was it, 16th, 13th, whatever? Once we hit March and they resurrected the village, they put us into the cheap seats.
Wow. Okay.
And
That's all I have.
we're
Yeah.
trying hard
Yeah.
to get this thing pulled back. But, unfortunately now it's kind of headed into a legal wrangling situation that, once again, it keeps pushing us further and further away from being able to really have any authority here.
Right. We're 9 months since the past election, and it's just, disheartening to see that, it not on your guys' level, don't get me wrong. It's just that this thing is still crawling along.
No, I know. It's disheartening on our level too, because it's like, we're working on this 125 corridor study, and you can see us, trying to work on putting that questionnaire out there. We're doing things in the park. We're trying to, we're ready to take the keys of this thing and start moving forward.
Sure.
And looking down the road and, having a new plan for a new Amelia. But, when we get told, well, we're not going to make a decision because there's a court case, and so you can't do it. We're not going to give you an opinion on a TIF, which we really needed the opinion on the TIF.
Sure.
Quite frankly, we'll get there. I think everything will work out, but it's like, you're right. It's crawling to there.
Right. And,
And
we're
it
going
doesn't
to
need
keep
to
on
be.
working on our end, guys. We're doing what we can, and, we want it for the greater good.
Yep.
But I appreciate your time.
Yeah, we appreciate it, man. Yeah, I think, it's really, it's kind of hard to wrap your head around the idea that taxpayer dollars are funding a paycheck for Todd Hart, and they're funding a paycheck for Kathy Ryan, who's almost acting, in my opinion, in some ways that could be interpreted as being contrary to the interest of the citizens of Amelia, whose tax dollars are used to pay her and pay Todd Hart, who are the same citizens that demonstrably voted against that regime to be in. So it's just, to me, I put my residence hat on, and the reason I got involved in a lot of this stuff, even in Pierce Township, and it's extremely frustrating. Extremely frustrating. I mean, I certainly can sympathize with you guys. It's just a matter of slogging through it and doing what we can. In a lot of ways, as Alan's gone back to several times, our hands are tied in a lot of ways, but we'll continue to fight and do the best we can, and hopefully we can work together with you guys and get a positive outcome at some point.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Renee? Renee, is that you?
There we go.
There you go.
Needed some 5-year-old to come show me what to do.
I'm muted.
Just to reiterate what Tim was saying, I think our issue, and Tim and I have talked, at length about this, is what do we tell our residents? Because they're not actually our residents, but are they your residents? Are they still Amelia and Todd's residents? Because I put out as little information as I can, because of the lawsuits. We can't put out a whole lot of what we want to put out there. So where do we tell them to go or what to do? And that's part of the problem, because there's nowhere for them to go. Because if they come to you guys, you can't really do anything, because your hands are tied as well. We're like, a bunch of villagers with no leader at this point, or nowhere to.
Well, it depends on what you're referring to. On the one hand, if you're talking about police protection, fire protection, zoning, the day-to-day operations of a village or a township, we're there and we're in charge. And so if they need something on that level, then certainly refer them to us. If you're talking about the earnings tax, or if you're talking about, the employment of Todd Hart, or if you're talking about any of those issues, unfortunately, and maybe Tom will give me a better answer than this, but unfortunately, you have to send them to the courts, because that's where everything is currently being fought out. Motions and counter motions and all that other stuff. And so that's kind of where all of those things reside right now. But we are just, to make sure everyone is aware, we're very much, involved and entrenched in doing the day-to-day operations of the township, which is the village.
Right.
So,
and I think everybody's aware of that and so appreciative. And, there's so much that needs to be done. And I try to not think of you guys as mad at us for doing what we feel is right for our residents, because that's what they seem to Tim and I, and also Dawn, is that these are our residents that somebody's got to fight for. And they don't understand why Todd still collects a check. They're still paying tax money, and they're still spending our tax money like he's in charge. And it's frustrating to try to tell people, other than going to the news and anything else, what's happening. We don't do court actions lightly, but we're going to do them because it's the right thing to do as well.
Well, unfortunately, the state has unfortunately left that as really the only avenue to get proper answers. Once they, again, I hate to harp on it, but when they resurrected the village, once again, they left most of us with no other option but to go to court and try to duke it out. So really, again, it gets back to the state auditor's office, who once again laid out a path that I think was incorrect. And we're now on it, and it's led straight into a courtroom. And no offense, Tom, but nothing good ever came out of a lawyer's office. I just said that to gig you, Tom. That's all.
Thank you. Yeah.
And we've spoke to the reasons why, Tom, I've been asking since this all started how Kathleen can represent both sides of this issue. And that's a problem. That's a real problem, where you name them as defendant, but you're going to represent them. And I think if the corona and everything else that's going on in the world now weren't happening, this would be the news story of the city of Cincinnati or Claremont County or of Ohio. And that's the problem. How do we fight for a news story when, you got corona and everything else going on? We just can't get that traction. But, I don't want to feel like I have to apologize to you guys for, because I hope you would do the same thing for your residents if this were to happen. And, I'm going to continue to fight, because if Todd would have just gone away quietly in the night, we wouldn't be where we are. And, I appreciate everything y'all do. The residents can't say good enough things about the police force and the fire department, and everything is great if we could just, get rid of this. And maybe this is a stupid question, but this $2,000 is tax-free money, if I'm not, because I've agreed upon amount, and that is that the amount he's getting paid, and is he paying into PERSCOMs with this too? I don't know if anybody has that, that answer, but that's a chunk of money that's going into his retirement pay.
I don't know. Tom, do you know? I mean,
No, we don't know.
just working our way down to, yeah, it's BS. You know, it's BS from the very macro level. And if you want to get down to the micro level, it doesn't become any less BS.
No, it doesn't. And that really doesn't. That was more of a rhetorical question than anything, I guess. But, you know, I just want you all to know that hopefully in a couple months or so, there'll be a judgment on this. And I can assure you when we get in there that this is going to be a fast and furious pace and we're going to get this ended so that we can say goodbye.
We all hope
I
so.
look forward to that. I look forward to that.
You have my promise on that.
All right, Renee, you don't have to feel like you have to apologize to us, at least me. I don't have any.
I know, but you know, Nick, when you turn your camera off every time I talk, I kind of get a complex.
No. I think I haven't. I think that might do with how I'm rotating on this thing or something. I've had it on this whole time.
Yeah.
And if I could say some good news that I need to brag, my son graduated August 6th from basic training at AIT and became the 3rd generation military police officer. So
congratulations. Congratulations.
There you go. Congratulations, Renee.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Takes after his mom.
Well, thanks for your input. Sorry, sorry we don't have better answers for you.
No, that's all right. Nobody has them, so.
All right, Michelle.
I just wanted to bring something to the police chief's attention that 125 seems to be the new speedway. Somebody passed me today right in the middle of town doing like 40 miles an hour. They're flying down 125. So I just wanted to bring that up and ask maybe to monitor it. That's all.
All right. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Chief, I'm sure you'll look into that.
Yeah, let me ask her when she says, she talking about Amelia, 125, or which section did this car go flying by you?
Yeah, and 125, the village limits, like right
Okay.
there by Speedway and Dollar General, right in that area.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Okay. Scrolling through here. Anybody else? Anybody else? Remember *9 on your phone. Use the participant panel. Speak now, or I should say raise your hand or forever hold your peace. Or at least until the next meeting. All right, I'm not seeing anybody. I think that pretty much concludes it. You know, Bonnie, Allen, you guys got anything else? Debbie?
No, sir.
No, Nick.
All right. Well, do I have a motion to adjourn?
You have a motion to adjourn.
I second it.
Mrs. Batchelor,
Yes.
Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks everybody for coming.
Good
Thank you.
night, all.
Good night.
Good night.
All right. Good night, John Boy. Yeah.